Hi, my name is Terry, and I am basically the head of Law Nerds Tutoring. So, today I just want to give you an introduction of our eight-part series on sources of law. As I said, this is going to be introductory video. There are going to be 7 videos that follow after this talking about different sources of law. So, before we go further and we talk any more about sources of law, just remember to like, subscribe, and of course, tell a friend. If you want to leave comments, go right ahead. Comment down below. Let us know if you have any questions, if there's anything you don't understand, or you can always let us know what you want to see in future videos. As I was saying earlier, this is going to be an 8-part series. So after this introductory video, there's going to be a video on the Constitution, judicial precedent, equity, custom, international law, legislation, and statutory interpretation. Now, the statutory interpretation video is going to go hand in hand with the legislation video. So, you may be asking yourself at this point, what is a source of law? Everybody keeps talking about sources of law, but what exactly is a source of law? It's simple. A source of law is basically just where the law comes from. What is its origin? What's its basis? It ain't just drop out of thin air. So, where does it come from? In the Commonwealth Caribbean, there are 3 different types of sources of law. There's literary sources, historical sources, and legal sources. I'm just going to talk a little bit about each source of law, but in the following videos, the other 6 sources that we're going to discuss, they're all going to be legal sources. Because after all, this is a law series, right? So, let's start with your literary sources. The term literary source merely describes the location of the law. So, where can the law be found? So, your literary sources are going to be books, statutes, treaties, law reports, that kind of stuff. Okay. When talking about literary sources, you're not concerned with the content of the law. You're more concerned with what it is, where it is, where can we find it, right? So remember, literary, basically books, where can we find the law? So treaties, books, legislation, law reports. Let's move on now to the historical sources. The historical source refers to the causative factors behind the rule of law. Okay, so its historical origin, its development story. What is the backstory behind the law? That's what you're going to find in your historical sources. This source is important, especially in the Commonwealth Caribbean, and you should know why. Our history has a lot to do with our laws, right? So, the historical process of the reception or imposition of English common law is important in defining Commonwealth Caribbean law. Why? It's obvious. England was our colonizers, so a lot of our older laws, older constitutions, that kind of stuff is based heavily on English law and preserving pieces of English law. So, even with contemporary legal systems throughout the Caribbean, many relics of colonial law remain on our statute books. And as you go on further in your legal course, as you get to law school, as you practice law, study law, even if you're going on to do a master's, you will realize that we have a lot of old laws on our statute books that mirror the laws that are found in Britain, in England, because they were our colonizers at one point. Right, so now we're going to move on really quickly to the legal source. I don't want this video to be too long. It's just an introductory video. So, when we speak about legal sources, we're describing the basis of the law's validity. So, we're basically talking about what gives the law its authority. So, with literary sources, we talked about where do we find the law, right? We find it in books, we find it in treaties, law reports, legislation. Historical sources, what's the origin of the law? What's the backstory behind the law? Legal sources now, we're talking about What gives the law its authority? What gives a piece of legislation its authority? Right? So, as I said, the other videos are all going to be legal sources of law. In the Commonwealth Caribbean, those are going to be your constitution, your legislation, common law and judicial precedent, custom, international law, and equity. I really, really hope that this video was really, really helpful for you guys. And I want to thank you so much for watching. And I hope to see you in our next video, part 2, which is going to be on the Constitution. We're going to talk about Commonwealth constitutions. We're going to talk about them as a source of law. And it's going to be really, really fun and really informative. So, see you guys.